First thing we need to talk about is how the Trump assassination was most definitely an inside job. Now, I got a little bit of pushback in the office this morning when I said I wanted to cover this, and a lot of worried looks and people saying, "Are you sure you want to go down?" But no, it is 100%. I can prove it. Right. Let's have a look at this tweet thread from an excellent source, very, very cleverly written, King Bingo _. Now, what he basically says here, let's get into it, is it definitely was an inside job, and we can sort of prove it. So let's go through the evidence that makes it 100% clear what happened, okay? First up, we're not saying that the Secret Service as a whole was in on it. We're not saying that the detail on the ground was in on it. You know, I think they acquitted themselves well with the resources that they had. Obviously, the guys, you know, they did what they had to do in the moment. But the organisation as a whole has quite clearly been understaffing the operation on Trump's side quite severely.
And that's been going on for quite some time, that Trump's been requesting additional security and it has been denied. And in fact, there has been considerable discussion about the fact that Jill Biden actually had a decent number of security detail as appointed by this director, Kimberly Cheetle, who she's been denying that she diverted security away from Trump, which, you know,
I don't think
undeniable.
Trump himself has been requesting the extra, but his
team.
His team, yeah. The Secret Service on the team have been requesting extra. And Cheadle, she is a ex-Pepsi employee, so she was head of security for Pepsi. So she went from guarding soft drinks to the president, which is, of course, a natural move. Very, very obvious why you might sort of make that sort of parallel shift. She's a Biden appointee, direct appointee, and her primary focus is, as we will see, it is getting women in the Secret Service to 30%.
Right.
Which is...
Her primary focus isn't the security of the thing that she's working on.
It's boosting the number of women.
Because, of course, more women will make him more safe for reasons unknown.
Well, throughout human history, of course, it has been the way that women protect men.
That's true, yeah. We sort of lounge around and do nothing while the women do all the work.
Yes,
at least according to feminists, anyway. Yeah.
So questions to be raised there. Now, actually, this poster does make a different argument. He says, you know, that a job that requires a response to extreme violence shouldn't just be done by men; it should be done by a few select men.
Probably men that know what they're doing and are highly trained.
Yes,
that are physically fit, mentally capable of whatever task they've got to do, and probably big, because you know, if you are taking a bullet, you want to cover as much mass as possible, right?
Well, when your part of your job is literally to get in the way of the target and the shooter, I mean, being big is a qualification in itself.
It is, yeah.
Yes,
it's almost one of the biggest qualifications, dare I say?
Yes, a very reasonable point. Now, the understaffing on the detail meant that a ridiculous situation like this could happen. I mean, it's quite absurd when you sort of see it laid out like that. The sniper got to within 150 meters. Now, it is worth, and you can do this on Google Maps quite easily, just go and, after this segment, of course, go and look out the window and scan the buildings around you. Then go to Google Maps and find one which is 150 meters away. I mean, it is a reasonable distance, but it's not a big distance. If
you could see a rifle with your own eyeballs from that distance.
I mean, we tried
as long as you've got
here.
20/20 vision, which you should have as you know, the Secret Service protection. And it is also worth mentioning that he was using an AR-15 style rifle. They haven't specified exactly what rifle he was using yet, but if he had actually used a sniper rifle, well, he could have been much, much further away. And if the security detail was so close to Trump that they weren't even covering that rooftop there, 150 meters away, then what if someone is, I don't know, 300 meters away, 400 meters away? Then it's going to be completely uncovered.
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, sometimes you're reticent to jump in on things when you lack the requisite experience. I think you can be a total amateur and spot that this was a magnificent screw up.
I think if you can shoot at the president and hit him, the security has failed.
Yes. But the point is, that level of understanding was obviously a choice.
Well, I think if you'd said to anyone with no experience with weapons that there's this event going on and the president's going to be stood here, we'd like you to shoot him with something. Where would you like to be to do that? Mm-hmm. That's probably where you'd go.
You kind of work it out for yourself.
So from a security point of view, that's probably the first place that I'd probably want to put some staff.
Well, the worst thing about it is that they did a security walk the day before, as is sort of standard procedure, and they identified that rooftop as a prime location for a potential shooter, and then did nothing about it. Yeah.
Our work here is done. That is definitely where we're going to get shot from. But my point is that understaffing to this level was a deliberate choice by the Secret Service. It was a deliberate choice to understaff it to that level. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got Democrat members who have been introducing legislation to get Donald Trump's Secret Service protection taken away entirely. So this is Bernie Thompson, is it? Who tried to get his Secret Service detail taken away. And then, look, helpfully, after the shooting, this is the field director for this particular congressman who basically just spells it out. I don't condone violence, but please get someone shooting lessons so you don't miss the next time.
Excellent.
I mean, you could not be more clear what the purpose of removing the secret security service that he had was. She's literally spelling it out there.
So they are genuinely just saying we need to remove all of his protection so we can shoot him.
Well,
that
someone
is literally
else
what she's saying
can
there.
do it.
Yeah, well, she's saying that somebody else can do it.
Even if you take a charitable interpretation, which I don't, but just in case you do, and say, well, Donald Trump's a billionaire. He can afford his own protection, but with the Secret Service comes, certain privileges.
Yeah, well, they have access that private security wouldn't.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. That he is of high enough status and notoriety that he needs this security to be able to stay alive. It's indisputable, really. And, the limitations on your own private security are such that, sure, they might help a bit, but they're not going to be as good.
I mean, to be fair, if I was him, I'd have both.
Yes, exactly.
Just overstock it.
Have the private security watching the Secret Service just in case they get any ideas.
Yes, but so clearly it was a choice to understaff it, and it was a choice to try and remove even that. So all of that is entirely deliberate. Okay, what about the recruitment of the sniper himself? Now, I'm arguing that this was also an inside job, except they didn't do it by literally going out and recruiting an individual and saying, would you like to do this? They did it by overwhelming statistical likelihood. So this is actually called
Stochastic terrorism.
Exactly right, Josh. That's exactly what I was going to say. It is sarcastic terrorism. So basically, what you do is you create a situation where it is overwhelmingly probable that the action that you want will occur. So put this into perspective. Let's say I wanted to take out the staff at the Lotus Eaters.
Don't do that, please.
No, but if I did, and I didn't want to go to jail for it, I could do it statistically. So I could say, like, okay, we're going to do a team building exercise. We're going to go cave diving or something. The riskiest hobby that there is.
Well, I wouldn't agree to that for a start. So
not now you've told him.
Well, I know. I've let the cat out of the bag now. But
you're going to choose a location where it would be probable that it would be easy for you to then remove the staff members in the correct way.
Yes, I would. So we're going to go cave diving, and I would select the least experienced guide possible.
Yeah,
and understaff it, and I would do things like, okay, we're going to do a Lotus Eaters live event, and you'd be, well, that's good. Where are we going to do that?
Whitechapel,
Baltimore or something. That place in the wild.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Yes. I would pick the most statistically dangerous areas.
Yemen. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yemen, if I could get away with it. But basically, what's happened is the media have created an environment where, and you've got to remember this guy. I mean, he's 20 years old. So when did Trump pop onto the scene? It was about 8 years ago, wasn't it? When
this kid was been the head of the Republican Party since he was 12 years old. Yeah,
and 12 is probably about the point where you start paying at least some attention to the news. So this kid's entire life, he's been bombarded with Trump is literally Hitler. He's an existential threat to the country. He's a genuine danger. Mm-hmm. Now, if he never changed the news channel and watched something else, or watched us, or friends of ours, he's just been bombarded with this for 8 years.
It's also worth mentioning that I believe his parents were either registered for the Democratic Party, and I think one was a member of the Libertarian Party, with which the state of they may as well be the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
At this point, despite being a libertarian myself.
And I'd actually go further in this argument. I don't think that this is the first shooter. I think he's the shooter that managed to go all the way. It would not surprise me in the least if a half dozen times before a shooter has turned up at one of Trump's rallies, taken a look at the security and thought, yeah, I'm not getting through that, and turned around and gone home. This time he turned up and looked at the security and thought, oh, bloody hell, there's a massive hole in this. I can actually get through. But honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if at least half a dozen times somebody has pitched up with a rifle in their boot before, looking to do exactly this. Because they're playing the statistical game. They've been grooming an entire generation of kids to believe that it is your... Because schooling these days, all you get, every history, I mean, almost everything is World War II, Hitler is bad. Wouldn't it be good if you could go back in time and assassinate Hitler? Oh, but you can't because we don't have time machines. Oh, but we've got another Hitler over here. How heroic could you be? So, yes. So they recruited it through that. And basically, this points out, help me, Josh.
Stochastic terrorism.
So sarcastic terrorism.
Sarcastic terrorism, yeah.
Works when the media, and in fact the entire establishment, incites extreme hatred of Trump, thus inspiring lone actors to commit unpredictable, yet statistically very probable assassination attempts.
That's without mentioning mind control or MK Ultra or any of those things that people will be talking about in the comments.
Did they test the shooter for LSD? That's what we need to know.
That is what we need to know. I mean, I take issue with the fact that the shooter is 20. I mean, most people who I know who are 20 are more concerned with, getting to work, because they probably work as like waiters or bar staff or something, and car insurance. They're more bothered about those things than trying to wipe out the leader of one of the Western nations.
Well,
yes.
Our resident historian, Bo, actually mentioned yesterday that a lot of assassins throughout history have been in their 20s, in their early 20s, more often. Like most of the 9/11 hijackers, I know that's, they're not assassins, they're terrorists, but, most of them were in their early 20s. And I think that's quite a good sample to show you that actually young men...
Right.
Low impulse control.
That their brains are not fully developed to understand the implications of what they're doing. And also... they're sort of willing to do silly, risky things. It's not until you get a bit older that you start becoming a bit more sensible.
So I understand, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I have heard it. That
you grow into consequences.
Yes.
I have heard that those people that they put in those bunkers to press the button on the nuclear missiles, if they get the alert saying, press the button, they're all young men in their early 20s for that same reason.
What, as in they will actually press the button rather than
they have
an
to
older
wait for the order
person
to come through.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas if you put an older man in there who's more likely to say,
are you sure?
Yes.
I'd rather the latter, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but not if you're the nuclear high command. You probably won't be able to do what they're
told. That's true, yeah.
Yes.
But I don't want to die.
So recruitment of this terrorist, I mean, it's been going on in plain sight. I mean, I could play some of this, but, you get the idea. This is a senator basically saying that he's more dangerous than Hitler and Mussolini, which is presumably quite dangerous indeed.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler and the use of the terminology like vermin and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy he believes in. He is not trying to...
Shut up. Right. Anyway, you get the point. That's the sort of rhetoric, and obviously I could give you thousands of examples of these. So the recruitment was done in the open, in front of all our eyes. I mean, this goes right the way to the top. Biden was saying on a call to donors, it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. I mean, this language has been so visceral, so emotive, and it's been happening for years. Mm-hmm. The statistical probability of grooming thousands of would-be assassins across the country, combined with the opportunity, and the formula is quite simply this: extreme rhetoric, understaffed Trump detail, you've created the optimal conditions for this to happen. And it is impossible for me to believe that was an accident, that they knew they were doing it, but they were doing it in a way that they could actually get away with.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've got plausible deniability, haven't they, if that happens. And to sort of to help you out a bit here, you're not saying that the individual in question, this Crooks kid,
yes,
who was the attempted assassin, you're not letting him off the hook by saying this. He's still morally culpable for his actions, but you're saying that they have also helped to push people towards this ends, right?
Well, they've manufactured conditions where this would have to arise.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, if it wasn't him, then it would have been someone else.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't that event, it would have been another event.
Well, this is my point about I severely doubt he was the first shooter. He was just the first shooter that managed to get through the security cordon.
Mm-hmm.
And they've manufactured inevitability.
Well, almost certainly there's been dozens who just didn't have the bottle to go through with it or couldn't.
Well, he's been on the scene for so long now, from about 2016 onwards. It's been 8 years. You'd think that in America, with firearms as they are, there would have at least be one person that's motivated to do so, but didn't end up giving it a go.
Definitely at least one. So my point is, this is not a lone gunman. This is all a complex organism, and it's moving with a single purpose, and they knew what they were moving for. So I'm not saying the CIA recruited the kid. I'm saying this organism as a whole, the media, the Democrats, the educational system, they've all been working towards this thing. And we are incredibly lucky. If this universe was 1 inch to the left, we would be getting Nikki Haley at the GOP conference receiving the nomination right now. The deep state would have won again.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, about Nikki Haley, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I did see a poster saying that she wasn't going to go to the GOP conference, and 20 minutes before the shooter took his shot, she quietly let out the news that she would be attending. I'd love to confirm that, because that's
unfortunate timing, if so, yeah.
Fortunate something. Yeah. Yes. Of course, another man was shot in the crowd, and 2 others seriously wounded. So we posted yesterday the fundraiser.
We did indeed.
I've gone for that. Suggest everybody else who can.
What do we know about the people who were, obviously 1 died and 2 injured? Mm-hmm. Do we know what their connection was and who they were? And
well, the guy who died was just a family man.
Right.
Had a business.
It's not like he was part of the security detail.
No.
He wasn't jumping in front of a bullet.
He actually died.
He literally was jumping.
He jumped in for his family. Yeah, it was. I read it yesterday, and it was a really difficult read. I'd struggled to get through it, to be honest. It was. I think it was his daughter writing it, saying how she finds her dad. Dad is actually a hero, and he did take a bullet for his family, so she knows that his love is genuine. Now, I don't even want to talk about it. It's going to be sad again.
Yeah, it's quite awful. So on the point of it being an inside job, if it wasn't that, why would the Biden campaign be frantically pulling ads off air at the moment that basically was saying we need to get this guy? Because they had a whole bunch of ads running and more planned that saying, this guy is an existential threat to democracy. He's a dictator. He's a fascist. We need to deal with this person. What if it wasn't deliberate what they were doing? Why are they frantically pulling all of those ads now?
Well, a charitable interpretation could be that they realised that it looked bad if they were saying all these things about a guy who was almost assassinated.
I mean, it does look bad when you get caught doing the thing that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But they may not necessarily feel like they had a hand in it, but they may think that...
They totally did.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing.
Yeah.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Right. But they did. Yeah. Also this, if it was not an inside job of deliberate choice to give the recruited terrorism the maximum opportunity, how could you possibly square that with this video that the Secret Service themselves put out? So this is a video that the Secret Service put out where they're talking about protecting the NATO conference and the extreme details that they go to. Let's see if we can watch a bit of this.
Would they even be publishing that?
The Secret Service is the lead federal agency for the NATO.
It is the 75th anniversary of the signing of the treaty.
It is the will of the people of the world for freedom and for peace.
So there's a lot of enhanced focus on this particular summit. In the final 48 hours leading up to NATO, our agency mobilizes all of its units with precision to ensure the safety of our protectees.
Transport on its way.
Coordination with our local, state, and federal partners is critical in implementing a safe and secure event for NATO.
We work together to mitigate any threat to our protectees and to the community.
Who do they make this video for?
The final 48 hours of
people
planning.
attending, right?
Yeah.
Make them feel comfortable about going to the events.
It's a great recruitment video.
It is, yeah, that's true.
But I mean, I won't bore you with all of it. But I mean, they go on to say, every eventuality is covered, every letterbox, every bin, every roof.
Every roof.
Yeah.
Including the obvious ones.
Yes. If it wasn't help me out, Josh.
Stochastic terrorism
Event, then why were the media running stories like this?
Yes, it's okay to compare Trump to Hitler. Don't let me stop you. I mean,
Yes.
Slightly flammable.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing I found with this is, like I say earlier, normally the more you know about a subject, the more nuanced your take is. Dan Bongino, who actually served in the Secret Service, is having none of this.
Right.
He's just like, no, this is unbelievable incompetence.
Former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino joins me now. Is this gross incompetence, or is it something even more scary that we can't even think about?
No, it's gross incompetence. I mean, how do you think about it, right? The counter sniper team, they train out, the Secret Service counter sniper team, obviously they're to mitigate a sniper threat. They train out to 1,000 yards. So we're talking about, say it was 200 yards. It was actually less than that where this shooter was, right? You're talking about a fraction of what they're trained at. They're also trained to spot guys in ghillie suits, cracked open windows.
Right.
He's on a white roof in broad daylight.
He's on a white roof.
Now, again, it'd be easy for me to say, oh, well, let's not get into Monday morning quarterbacking. Bro, it's not a freaking football game. It's the President of the United States' life. The Secret Service has one job. Well, outside of counterfeiting and protection, it is one job. You
didn't mince his words, did he?
Yeah. And this is the thing. I mean, he's having none of this. He's pointing out they're trained to spot people in ghillie suits rustling through the bushes 5 miles away, let alone an Elizabeth Warren lookalike on a tin roof on a bright sunny day, clanking his way across it. Likewise, now this I can't. I mean, this guy says he used to work in military intelligence, and he gives his take on it, and I can't verify that he actually did or not. But he just makes the interesting point that I think I've heard elsewhere that drones covering the area are standard procedure.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes.
You can't get a better lay of the land than viewing it from above, can you?
Yes. As well as the officer, and again, this guy, who we do know was a Green Beret Special Forces sniper. And again, I mean, he feels that this is, it just goes beyond the possible bounds of a mere fuck up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm here to tell you why the shooting of President Donald Trump yesterday, without a doubt in my mind, was a planned and coordinated attack on the president inside our government, our local agency, or police force. Here's why. My name is Matthew Murphy, and I am a retired Green Beret, retired from this Special Forces group, but I'm also a level 1 sniper, which means that I have graduated the highest level of training for snipers that you can do in special operations. We're trained, I'm going to avoid confidential or classified terminology. We're trained in assassinations and counter-assassination. Weeks, if not months, before the president will ever be at that spot. And they do a site security assessment. And they do that with the local police forces and agencies to ensure that every potential security threat or vulnerability is secured and, of course, protected against. Now, this is done way before...
So that's in the reading links if you want to hear his full argument. He goes a bit further than I do. I'm simply making the case that this was an assassination done through overwhelming statistical probability and the under-resourcing in order to maximize the likelihood of that to take place. But I mean, he actually goes further and say that the level of the security failings was so extreme that even that can't explain it. So legitimate questions to be asked, but yes, as far as I'm concerned, the democratic organism, the regime, they knew exactly what they were doing. This was an intended result. And, we missed it Trump missed it by an inch, but not for the lack of their trying.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see what else we're up to, you can watch our election night live stream, which just surpassed 100,000 views on the website. Also got 80,000 concurrent viewers across all platforms. We're very proud of it. See what everyone's raving about. Make sure to check it out. And if you want to see everything else that we're putting out, you can also follow us on Twitter, where we always post links to all of the work that we're doing. So if you want to keep updated, that's the place for it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.